Johnny Murray here, and welcome back to another review. Today we're going to be talking about Alan Wake 2, the Lake House DLC or expansion, whatever you want to call it. This is the second DLC for Alan Wake 2, my third favorite game of all time. I think this game is a masterpiece. I would say perfect. I would say everything amazing that you could possibly say about a game. I love Alan Wake 2, and I loved the first DLC being Night Springs, but nonetheless, we're here to talk about the Lake House. Now, I have a lot to say, and I have a lot of things I want to get into, but for the most part, I want to preference there will be spoilers in the second half of this review, so if you don't want to be spoiled on a certain thing that happens in this review or in this DLC, definitely either wait or just, if you want to, skip ahead to the end of the very end of the video. That way you can just see my score or whatnot. But yeah, there will be spoilers, so you have been warned. But if you guys love video games, consider subscribing, sharing with your friends. It really doesn't matter what you love here. I mean, Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, PC, third-party, indie, VR, whatever it may be. We cover video games daily on this channel, and I really do appreciate all the support you guys give me, especially the support on this video right here. But the Lake House, the second DLC for Alan Wake 2. Oh boy, where do we start? I'm gonna start by saying this game, or this DLC, this expansion, it's terrifying. It is scary. This is a horror game. This is a horror game. In a game that was already had a lot of horror elements, they upped it. They upped the horror in Alan Wake 2 by like 5, by 10, by however much you can think of. This DLC is terrifying. It's terrifying, easily. The vibe, the music, the enemies, the level designs, the story, everything about this DLC is just so much more dark and so much more just stress and just scary than anything in the base game or the other DLC. I absolutely love that. Horror is like one of my favorite genres in gaming, like easily top 3 for me. So I love that they went this approach. This is Remedy saying, yo, if we wanted to go full horror, we could. And honestly, I would love to see that. Just Remedy straight up make just a straight up horror game. I would love to see that. Alan Wake 2 kind of is that, but I wouldn't say it's as horror as it could be. We see the Lake House. That's obviously horror. Alan Wake 2 has horror elements, but I wouldn't call it a straight horror game. But nonetheless, the DLC is scary. That's what you need to know. But let's get dissecting a bunch of the different parts about this DLC, starting with the story. We're gonna save the story later because that's where spoilers come in, so we're gonna save that for later. Haha, I tricked you. We're actually gonna go to the gameplay, and I think the gameplay is the weakest part here, which is really unfortunate because Alan Wake 2 has such simple gameplay, but it's so satisfying and it's so effective that it's really hard to criticize the gameplay. And I don't think the gameplay in terms of like its mechanics or anything falls flat here. I think it's more or less the level design and the things you're doing throughout this DLC that hinders the gameplay. That being that I think there is too many things that is too, I don't know the exact, I don't want to say niche. That's not the right word. It's too peculiar. I can't even say that word, peculiar. I don't know. You get what I'm trying to say. There's a lot of reading notes in this DLC, and there is a lot of repetitiveness to it, and I don't feel like it introduces enough new things to make it stand out for a DLC. In terms of gameplay, I'm not talking about the whole experience. I'm talking about just gameplay in general. I do think the addition of the paint monsters, whatever you want to say, I think those are really cool, but they can be really annoying because there's some that will like jump out of the wall and just grab you and instantly kill you. And the game didn't really do a really good job at explaining how the heck you even deal with that. And like sometimes it wouldn't even work the way it was supposed to. And it kind of was just, it kind of got to a little bit of that frustration point. The DLC is kind of challenging, I will say, because you are limited on ammo and resources and heals. So if you get to that final boss, which, spoiler, there is a final boss, if you don't have heals or anything, you're kind of just stuck doing that entire boss battle at like whatever health you're doing it at. And unfortunately, I was like half health through like the whole boss battle because I just didn't find a heal beforehand, and there wasn't any heals during it. And so I did die a lot during that boss battle, and it kind of got very frustrating because, I mean, you should give me at least one heal. Come on now. And then ammo-wise, I mean, ammo, there is plenty, but there are moments where you're like, oh boy, I'm getting a little bit low, and you're just going to have to start running or do something. But for the most part, this is just your Alan Wake 2 gameplay. I mean, it's still crunchy. I mean, it's still sharp. It's still really effective. It's still really just real. Like, it feels so grounded. It's slow but heavy. And you just gotta love that feeling. You do get a gun. You get a pistol. You get a shotgun. I think that's all. And then you get the paint monster killing weapon. It's like a grenade launcher kind of in a way. You get heals. You get flares. You get I think a grenade or like a flashbang kind of thing. But for the most part, the gameplay is pretty self-explanatory. There is just normal monsters. Oh my gosh, I kind of forget what they call them, the Awakened or something. No, that's not. I don't know. There's the normal enemies in the base game in this DLC, but then there's also the paint monsters. But I also think the level design in this DLC, I appreciated what they went for. I don't think they did it to the best of their ability. Basically, the whole game's like going to the next area revolves around an elevator. Basically, you have to go to floor 1 to do this one thing, then floor 2, then floor 3. It's kind of like a Metroidvania in a way. Like, you go to floor 1, you can access the security level 1 doors, but then to get to the security level 2 doors, you then have to go to floor 3 to grab the card, and then go back to 1, which will then give you security level 3 doors, which then you could do things on floor 2 and then go back to floor 3. It kind of is like a Metroidvania in that way. I appreciated it. I think there was some promise there. I think there are a lot of positives to point out. I do think a lot of the progression works. I don't think the pacing or consistency of it working. Like, I think finding those security levels to then get the paint monster killing gun, I think that is a really good call. I think that adds something different from the base game. But I think there's a lot of in-between moments there where you're talking to the antagonist, I would say, or you're like experiencing something else horror-wise that just confuses you, because then it makes you just automatically go to another floor when you don't exactly want to do that. Or sometimes you have to find the elevator, and it can kind of really just confuse. It's not a very consistently, like, I would say, accessible construction of the level design. It makes it really kind of convoluted and jumbled in a way, but I at least like what they were going for and how they were progressing you through the game. You know, getting the security cards. I think that's smart. I think that's cool. I think, you know, having to unlock certain doors to get the certain guns, I think is smart. I just don't think the execution or the layout that they did it in necessarily worked for me personally. But I still enjoyed the gameplay for the most part. I don't think it's bad gameplay. I just think it definitely is worse than the first DLC and worse than the base game. But yeah, overall, still really enjoyed it. Music, they did add a couple new tracks in here, and they are just as good as the base game. The base game's soundtrack, I think, is like one of the best OSTs ever. So take that how you will. I think the game's OST is amazing. I honestly can't think of another OST that has so many original songs for it. Like, I can think of a lot of original tracks, like original music, like obviously orchestra, bands, and stuff like that playing music. But like, we have artists making songs for this game, left and right, that actually play in the game at the end of every chapter. Like, it's just absolutely beautiful. So so great. And they just add on to that with this DLC. So gotta give them props for that. Visually, they somehow up their game here because of all the paint and because of the insane amount of horror that they've added into this game. They had a chance and they had this opportunity to just go even more interesting and more creative with the visuals, and I think they hit a home run. The paint specifically is so cool looking. I just love what they did with the paint here, but they also had so many moments where they just used light in such a great way, which they use light phenomenally in the base game as well. But like, there's a lot of horror scenes where the whole room will like turn red or the lights will go down, but you have to carry this cube of light to a place where you have to put that cube. It's like a puzzle type thing. There's like a room full of typewriters that there will be lights that show you like lanes or whatnot. It's so cool. It's so great. I think they did a phenomenal job with it. And yeah, there's just a lot of moments where I think the visuals are just an absolute standout, as was the base game. So many moments where the visuals were like, wow, this is just so good looking. But yeah, it knocks it out the park for sure. This is a 3 hour, I would say 3.5 hour DLC for me personally. Depends how fast you can solve puzzles and how many times you die. I do imagine it could probably be beat in about 3 hours. But it's short, but I think it's a good length for what this thing is trying to be. And that's where we go to the story side of this game. I like its premise. I really do. I think the idea of playing as Agent Estevez is a good call. I do feel like that is a character we needed to explore more, and we did, thankfully. I think Estevez, being the character she is, being that FBI agent, all about getting the job done and, you know, staying true to that FBI agent, like, persona, I think works really well because she has a lot of dialogue moments in this game where it's like, she would say that, like, man, you are such a cop. You are such a cop. Like, she walks through, like, a security scanner with, like, a firearm, and she, like, says out loud, is anybody gonna call me out for walking through this security door with a firearm? Like, you know, she says these things that's like, a cop would totally say that if she was on this investigation. And I think they did a bang-up job with that. But also, I think they do the thing that the base game did. They introduced a couple characters that end up becoming the antagonists. That the whole reason this overlap, or whatever they called it, I think it's called like an overlap or something, is based around, and that's the person you then have to kill later in the game. I thought that was an interesting thing. It's kind of a dark, twisted thing. Shocker, we're talking about Alan Wake 2 here. I think they did a great job with it. I don't think they got anyone too attached through this DLC, which I will say, whereas in Night Springs, you definitely felt attached to the 3 characters that you had to play through each chapter. I didn't feel as attached to Estevez in this one, or to the antagonist, or what exactly was going on. But where this game's story did really hit the right note for me, and this is where spoilers gonna come in, is this. So yeah, spoilers, turn away now if you don't want to be spoiled. This game is a clear connection and bridge point between Alan Wake 2 and Control 2. If you played the game, and if you did the secret in this game, in the DLC, you'll clearly know what I'm talking about. They have officially pretty much teased completely Control 2 with a vision that happens in the game. You meet a character. He goes by Dylan, which is the brother of Jesse, which is the main character of Control. And he says he failed and that he really tried. Us not knowing what the heck he's talking about or why we're seeing him, he then gives us a vision that shows off a lot of pictures and a lot of scenes and a lot of environments that we have never seen before, and that look incredible. They look so awesome. And you can clearly tell they are teasing Control 2 because they have the spiral, they have the red, they have the just aesthetic and the look of Control. But it goes so much farther. Some of the scenes that they are showing in this vision of the like city and its parallels, like where there's a city upside down above another city, there's cities contorting into each other. This game talking about Control 2 looks insane. And this DLC did such a great job setting up Control 2 because of just that one scene. There's a lot of things where we mentioned the Federal Bureau of Control. They mention that so much throughout the DLC. This game, or this DLC, really is a bridge between Alan Wake 2 and Control 2. And I'm so happy they did that because obviously this is the Remedy universe now. This is a thing that's in full effect, in full form here. And Alan Wake 2 being so awesome, I've even loved Control way more now. And so I'm way more excited for Control 2 now. And I think Remedy is one of the top studios in the game right now. And just having that Control teaser, knowing what possibly we may be getting, it looks so awesome. And I do feel like that is the main gist of the story, is just being that connection, giving us that horror experience, exploring another character that was in the base game, and setting up a bridge between this game and what's next. And I think when I look at this DLC, is it something that I'm absolutely glad was a thing and that they did add to Alan Wake 2? Yeah, I think this is a great addition to Alan Wake 2. Do I think it makes the game better in some ways? Yeah, I think it does. But do I think the DLC as itself is extraordinary? No, I think it's a really great DLC, and that is where ultimately I am going to end up with my score. I am going to end up at an 8.5, which is really great, according to my grading scale. I am still going to give it an A tier, though. I still think it's awesome. I think there's so many great things about it, and I love it. But I do think there are some issues. I think there are some consistency issues and just some design choices where I definitely questioned it a little bit, but I don't think it ever was bad or it didn't leave me wanting more necessarily in a way. You're always going to make me leaving wanting more, to be honest, because I just always want more Alan Wake and I always want more of the Remedy games. They are just some of my favorite now. But I have to say, it's crazy to me that I finished the DLC, credits rolled, and the first thing that I thought, literally the first thing that I said to myself and I thought, and I instantly went on Twitter and just tweeted exactly what I was thinking. After I rolled credits, my first words were, Control 2 finna be a masterpiece. I'ma just say right now, I think Control 2 is gonna be a masterpiece. They have been building to this thing for so long, and Control 1 is already considered phenomenal. I cannot wait to see what they do with Control 2, man. Especially after Alan Wake 2. Control 2, man. Oh boy, I can't wait. But that's going to do it for this review, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed, definitely leave a comment in the section down below provided, and please subscribe. I will see you all in the next one. Johnny Moore out.